Sonja K. Blair Adams.
Sonja was last seen at her home sometime in 1969. Few details are available. This is the story called Mountain Jane Doe. This is the story of a young woman named Sonja K. Blair Adams, who was born April 24th, 1948, and died sometime in 1969. She was murdered. She was from Letcher County, Kentucky. I'm going to tell a little bit about her. She was known as the Mountain Jane Doe or the Little Shepherd Girl. She was last seen at her home sometime in 1969. Her decomposed body was found on the Little Shepherd Trail on Pine Mountain by a man picking flowers. It was estimated that she had been dead for several weeks prior to the discovery of her body. This story jumps ahead to 2009 when her daughter, Karen Stipes, searched the database Name Us to try to find her mother, yet she wasn't listed. Her daughter then found out about the story of the Mountain Jane Doe. Meanwhile, in 2015, the woman's body was sent to the University of Texas and developed a DNA profile, and they were able to successfully match her. In September 2016, it was announced that Mountain Jane Doe was identified as Sonja K. Blair Adams through DNA. I do know that she was married and had one child. In the summer of 1969, this is from the website, the Doe Network, a man picking flowers along the secluded Little Shepherd Trail in Harlan County, Kentucky, saw a body on the side of a hill. It was so decomposed it was hard to tell if it was a man or a woman. Now, 47 years later, the body has been identified using technology, DNA. The woman was Sonja K. Blair Adams. She had been stabbed multiple times in the chest, is how she died. And State Police Detective Josh Howard has been working this cold case since 2013. She was listed as one of the state's oldest cold cases. So she was 21 years old when she was killed. She and her husband had divorced in 1967. Police haven't been able to find a report of anyone having reported her missing. Her naked body had been in the woods for around a month when it was found. Police did not release the name of the man who found her. He told police he went to the area to dig up some trees to replant at his home. He said that he found her body on June the 2nd, 1969. It is believed that someone had taken her to that spot to try to kill her, or to kill her, since they did, but they do not have a motive for the murder. She had a daughter who was less than a year old at the time, and the daughter was raised by her grandparents in Letcher County, Kentucky. Growing up, she always wondered where her mother was and why she never came back for her. Ultimately, she began to search, and she made a connection to her mother's identification. She says that she had always heard the story about the body being found on the mountain. Could be that of her mother, but it wasn't until 2009 that her daughter found a listing, or this would have been the granddaughter of the dead woman, found a listing for an unidentified woman on the National Missing and Unidentified Person website, also known as Name Us. This information had not been entered into the database until 2009. The daughter, Karen Stipes, contacted the state police and the Harlan County coroner Blair Adams had been buried in Harlan County with a headstone that said unidentified female. Her body was exhumed and sent to the University of Texas, where DNA was taken from the remains, and it was a match to this girl. So 2 women spent decades searching for the identity of the same murdered woman for different reasons. They only lived 60 miles apart, but it wasn't until September of this year that they met. When you hear her story, it takes a hold of you. So many people have said when you let her in, you can't let her go, said Harlan historian and author Darla Jackson. In 1969, DNA testing had not yet been discovered, and her body was so decomposed that no one could identify her. The people of Harlan County buried her in the woods in a pauper's grave. Buried with her was the mystery of who she was and what had happened to her. Over the next 47 years, she was known as Mountain Jane Doe. As Jackson rediscovered the unidentified grave next to her family's property, she started researching Harlan County haunts. I've always been one. I don't like unsolved mysteries. I knew this woman had a name. I knew she had a family. I knew she belonged to somebody. She made it her goal to give Mountain Jane Doe back her identity. At times I became very discouraged. When I would visit this place and I would see the grave, it made it so real to me. I would say, here she is. Who is she? Now, Karen Stopes grew up without so much as even a picture of her mother or a grave site to visit. She was adopted by her paternal grandparents when she was a baby. When I was little, I always thought that maybe she would come and get me. Says Karen Stopes of Coburn, Virginia. Then when I was around 10, I began to hear that maybe my mother had died. Some people referred to it as she had died at the Little Shepherd Trail. So now this tells you that somebody knew something. If this woman was unidentified, then how did the family know enough about this to say she died at Little Shepherd Trail? Little Shepherd Trail is a trail on Pine Mountain in Harlan County, and I guess Harlan and Letcher County kind of share this mountain. And I've been to, Pine Mountain many times. I've been to the Little Shepherd Trail area. I didn't know about this story at that time, but it's probably more developed now than it was in 1969, but it's really more of just like a walking trail, just hiking trails in that area. So how did the rumor go around through the family that she may have died on Little Shepherd Trail if the police and nobody else knew her identity? People were keeping that quiet. Where was her family? If the daughter was adopted by her father's side of the family, then where was her mother's side of the family? And did they know anything? She was told not to talk about it. For years, she researched the rumor. She gathered birth and marriage certificates, but she could never find a death certificate for her mother. Without access to the internet or DNA testing for decades, she had no way to know the story of what happened to her mother. She had no idea that her mother was buried in the woods in Harlan County. I just knew with every bone in my body, everything that I ended up finding about her led me to know who she was. In 2009, she and her children had been searching the internet for more information. In that same year, the National Missing Unidentified Persons System posted the Jane Doe description. They gave her height and a description of her. She called Name Us and quickly put her in touch with the Kentucky State Police. The family gave DNA samples. In 2014, NAMUS worked with Harlan County Coroner to exhume the body of Mountain Jane Doe. In 2016, Karen Stopes got a phone call telling her that Mountain Jane Doe was indeed her mother, Sonja Blair Adams. I used to pray that she would come and get me, and it never happened. Now, getting the proof, I know why she was unable to. Since that time, Karen has found some of her mother's family who gave her photos. Now, here's my question. Why did they not know what had become of this daughter? Did they not ask? Her father has her and has given her over to his parents. What happened to him? I always wondered why she abandoned me. And now I know that she didn't. Now I can bury her not only in the ground properly, but also the thoughts of why she was never there. I have had to come to terms with the violent death and how awful it must have been what she endured. She died a brutal murder. She did not deserve that, and whoever done this needs to be caught. Now, she doesn't talk anything here about her dad, her relationship with her dad. The question is, who killed Sonja Adams? Detectives have for nearly 50 years had very little to work with. Today, where we would take maybe 1,000 pictures of a crime scene, there wasn't any pictures to show. The lack of evidence doesn't mean Detective Howard is stopping. He says that this is the closest that they've been to finding any information about Sonja. He's actively interviewing suspects and investigating leads. So far, there have been no real, leads on this. I think there's somebody out there that knows, and what we're asking for is for them to come and talk to us. So many years have passed now that we just want to put closure to this. Two women who spent decades searching for Sonja didn't give up hope. Now, this video is also a re-edit. It's one of the videos that I had made a long time ago when I first started doing this, and I didn't have the software and stuff, and I wanted to go back and re-edit the video, give it a little bit more update. And so since I posted it originally, I found an obituary for Sonja K. Blair Adams. Now, she was born April 24th, 1948, and it's estimated that she died around May the 1st of 1969. Her parents were James Edwin and Geraldine Caudle Blair. She was 21 years old when she died. Her body was found June 2nd, 1969, and she was given a funeral and buried unidentified as Jane Doe, or the Little Shepherd Trail Girl, on June 5th, 1969. Sonja was exhumed in November of 2015, and there was a positive identification made a year later in 2016 using DNA. She was known as Mountain Jane Doe for more than 4 decades, when NAMUS matched her with her daughter Karen. Sonja's case is an example of how important and needed this database is for matching the missing and unidentified with their family members. Sonja is survived by her daughter Karen Stopes and her husband Jimmy Stopes. She has a granddaughter, Jenny Kirkpatrick, her granddaughter's husband Kevin. They have a son, and this would be Sonja's grandson, Stephen Ivy. She has great-grandchildren, Kiara and Riley Kirkpatrick. She is also survived by other siblings, nieces, nephews, and a host of family and friends.
Her murder has never been solved. She died from multiple stab wounds. It's believed she had been dead for about a month when she was found. The man that found her claims to have been out there looking for trees and things to dig up. And I don't know if police investigated him to see if his story held true, or maybe he had something involvement in it. I never found anything about any of that. Sonja was divorced and could have been going on dates. Maybe she had met someone and had gone on a date, or maybe it just maybe it could have been someone she knew. And some people wondered if her husband was ever investigated, or anyone maybe that she was known to have had a relationship with.
Sonja K. Blair Adams was laid to rest 40 years after her remains were found on the Little Shepherd Trail. Our next milestone is finding out who did it. I don't care if they are dead or alive, said her daughter. It needs to be proven. It doesn't really say anything about the man she was married to or anything about him. According to the Courier-Journal on June 9, 1969, Kentucky State Police said the body has a man picking flowers on the Little Shepherd Trail found this woman's body, and it had several stab wounds that were so deep they penetrated the heart. She had burn marks on her legs, and she was missing about 10 teeth. Police described the woman. No, it doesn't say if she was beaten in the face that her teeth may have been knocked out, or if teeth were found. It just says that she was missing about 10 teeth. Police describe her as a woman in her 20s, weighing around 110 pounds, with light brown hair. Questions I would like to have answered: Who was her husband? What was the situation between the two of them? Did they have a fight, like a argumentative relationship? Were they always battling? Was he trying to take custody of the child away from her? Had she met another man and maybe started a new relationship? So I would start with the relationship between herself and her ex-husband. If there were any living relatives who were around at that time on either side, I would interview all of them, friends, people she may have gone to school with, people that may have known her from that time in her life. And I would ask around to some of her friends if she was working anywhere. I would find out if anybody remembered where she worked and who some of her co-workers might have been, if she may have started seeing a new man, I'm thrilled to announce an update to the Jane Doe found in Harlan County back in 1969. She is no longer nameless. Her name is Sonja K. Blair Adams. She was a native of Letcher County, Kentucky, and she was only 21 years old when someone brutally stabbed her to death and left her naked body laying near the Little Shepherd Trail. Now, the fact that her body was naked, was this a sexual assault? Was DNA... Now, keep in mind, back in the 60s, DNA was not... But did they do a check to see, had she been raped? Was there anything that they could take from that? Here's someone who makes a comment named May Fulton. I can't believe I found this out. She was my aunt. I have heard my family talk about her my whole life. They told me that she was found and never identified, but they knew in their heart that it was her. I never thought they would find out for sure. Maybe one day they will do an update about this and say that they have some information. Unless they have DNA, if they have found other DNA on her body, if there was a weapon found nearby, which nobody says that there was, then it may never be revealed who killed her. I think the majority of people probably feel the same way I do, that they should look at the husband first. You always look at the spouse. Was there another boyfriend? It says that there was never any, that the state police didn't have any record of anybody having ever reported her missing. Things may have been handled differently back then. And I don't know if this would have been reported to the Letcher County Sheriff or the Harlan County Sheriff. Maybe at that time they didn't keep records of phone calls like that. And someone called and said, my sister, my daughter's missing. They've not been home. And someone said, oh, well, I'll write her name down. And it probably ended up in a trash can, But anyway, I appreciate y'all for listening. And I don't mean to get started talking so long on these videos. But I just start giving my theories. And I get a little bit carried away. But
Thanks for watching.